Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back. Today we are discussing Westworld Season 4, Episode 3. We are talking spoilers, of course, and I just want to start out by thanking everyone who left comments on our Episode 2 video. It really gets the brain thinking. It fires me up and it makes me feel more human than host. I don't know what that means, but yeah, a lot of your comments have helped me to just think about all of them. All of your comments have helped me to think about where we're heading next in Westworld. These are so comprehensive, so awesome. And so let's just dive into discussing what we just witnessed in episode 3. So we start off with Bernard. We're finally getting to see Bernard after 2 whole episodes where he just wasn't there, and things are kind of bizarre. We realize, okay, this is really freaky. He's in Westworld and then he's somewhere else and da-da-da. So yeah, of course he's in the Sublime, and I had to just go back and reread all this stuff from last season, especially with his arc. Was that, at the end Dolores kind of gave him the key to the Sublime. So then he was like, I'm going in, and fast forward to the point where he's still in there and then he's covered in dust and then he wakes. So we get to see like a little bit of what happened while he was, going into the Sublime and doing whatever he needed to do. But we see he makes it to this big towering like structure, and when he gets up there he meets Akechta. I had to make sure I said that right. And he basically explains to Bernard, what's going on, where he's at, and there's this whole struggle where Bernard is like, okay, this is all fine and good, but the humans need saving. And so, okay, this is what gets me kind of tripped up, I would say, is that I guess by having access to the Sublime and all of the code and the data within that, Bernard can now see into the human future. He can now just, kind of look and see all possible paths, kind of like, very much like Doctor Strange, right? And Infinity War and a little bit to an extent in Endgame, right? Where he's going through all possible outcomes. And so this is what Bernard does. He takes a second and he's like, all right, well, I've seen every single possible scenario that could ever happen ever. And then he's like, in every scenario, at least to what I assume, he dies in every scenario, except for the one, of course, where he chooses not to save the humans. So, of course, Bernard is so attached to humanity that he's like, I'm not going to let them down. I'm going to, use these gifts, use my power to go and help the humans. But I just found it kind of weird the way that he has to now go about executing this. And for me, it's the fact that it's so like meticulous down to a T. Like, he meets Stubbs and they go to the diner and, Stubbs is like, oh, I want the Reuben sandwich. And Bernard's like, no, you have to have the tuna melt or whatever. And it just seems kind of weird that Bernard has to micromanage like literally every single detail. It's kind of like, hey, Bernard, can I move my fork to the left, or is humanity doomed for all time? Or it's like, hey, Bernard, can I go use the bathroom? Or, is this going to cause the extinction of all humans and animals? So it's like the fact that, kind of on a broader picture, sometimes it might be like, we have to make sure that this person stays alive. And if they die during such and such event, then we know that we've messed up. But for it to be kind of like, we have to do this and has to do that, and like every little step, I'm like, it's going to be a very long trip if we have to stick with Bernard like this. But I do think like, okay, if we did have some kind of internal knowledge of like, oh, well, if this character dies, or, like, let's say if this train doesn't make it on time, at least it kind of helps to ground us in like, oh, we're kind of rooting for this one thing to happen. This is what we want to happen. And then if it doesn't happen, we know that I feel like it would have a bigger effect, like, oh no, that wasn't a part of the plan. But, in the sense we're kind of oblivious to it now. So I don't know, I feel like it would have a bigger impact in another way. And I was thinking about like Infinity War, because technically Doctor Strange, his whole thing was like, we can't reveal what the right moves are, because if you know what happens, then technically that might change how it happens. But also at the same time, Infinity War and Endgame never put a huge emphasis on this has to happen, and Cap has to do this, and Iron Man has to do this, and so on and so forth. So I don't know. I'm just going to have to see how this plays out in episode 3. Again, I think it's a little bit too meticulous to say that Bernard has to control every single one of these events. And then not only that, it kind of begs the question of, well, what happens when Bernard can't control it? You know, like, there are other people who are playing a part of this that Bernard can't be with. So he can control things that he is doing from his immediate point of view, but let's say it's Maeve and Caleb. If they mess up something, how does that work? So I don't know if that's a plot hole or anything like that. Again, this is the very first episode where we're being introduced to this concept, but I think it lends itself to having stuff go kind of wonky, so I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that. So as we're moving on, we do learn that part of Bernard's plan involves meeting this rogue group of people. He killed the 2 people at the diner. They were hosts, and then in turn, those hosts were supposed to be picked up by the rebel group, and they were going to infiltrate them and turn on them. So we have some big questions about this group too, which a lot of the questions are, who are they? What do they do? Unless I missed something, which that's what the comments section is for. Say, hey, Mia, you missed a really big piece of that episode. But I have the questions. I guess my whole thing is like, okay, if these are humans, if this rebel group is made up of all humans, what potentially do they know about what's going down with our evil Hale, with our, man in black? I can only assume from their point of view as outsiders, unless somehow they did have people who were on the inside. They just kind of maybe sensed that something was suspicious with William buying up all this land, and that, maybe they had some suspicions about the new park opening and the legislation, and maybe they just had a hunch that this whole human versus host revolution wasn't quite over yet. And then we just have to wonder, well, the big question is, where are they going? What are they looking for? And I mean, are they looking for an entrance to Westworld or to Delos? Of course, Bernard would definitely be able to show them that way. And then if that's what they want to do, if they want to infiltrate Delos and the park, what will they do, or what do they think they can accomplish when they get there? They're just humans. They haven't, as far as I know, they haven't been through this before. So it's kind of interesting to see whose side are they on. What do they want? What do they need? Are they humans? Are they hosts? I wish they could have just given us a little, just something about this group, about their objective or who they are in this episode. So leaving that to mystery, I'm just hoping things pick up, to the point where it's like, you want to care about this group. You don't just want to be, who are they? What are they? You want to care about them. So we need a little bit more. Now, as we try to kind of transition-ish, I'm going to use Bernard as a little bit of a bridge to kind of talk about the whole world with Dolores and Christina, and then the other stuff with Maeve and Caleb, because it's all coming together. It's coming. I'm wondering, what does Bernard know about Dolores, or really Christina? What does he know about Christina and what's going on here? Because I think it does, depending on what he knows and how that's being incorporated into his path and his plan, it just really kind of tells us what went down. So on one hand, we have this situation where it would seem like humanity is safe for now. And this would be the one, at least to me, where Dolores is in a simulation, or she's, in some kind of virtual matrix. And then there's the other theory where it's like, okay, is Dolores / Christina actually in this near future, in this dystopian future? And that would pretty much, 100% mean that Hale's plan did go as planned, in that humanity is pretty doomed. So if we were in the scenario 1 where Dolores is in the Matrix, and Hale has still not quite gotten what she needs from Dolores, which still trying to figure that out as well. We know it's roughly got something to do with the Sublime, whether she wants information from there or she wants to bring the host back. And Blaze Maze left an awesome comment talking about how, there's some things going on with Dolores' roommate and with her boss, and how they're prodding her and coaxing her. So it's like, is this Hale's way of programming them into getting something out from Christina, which would be this whole information about the Sublime? And it's quite possible that Bernard can kind of jack into there and reach out to her, save her, help to wake her up before Hale is able to manipulate Dolores. I don't think that would happen. I don't know. But Bernard would be able to save the day at that rate, at least from how I see it. Okay, and then on the other hand, we have this dystopian future where it is the physical world. Hale has created basically a kind of park-like to put all the hosts in, and now the humans are acting like hosts. Those people are being controlled. And Leon had mentioned in their comment that they think Dolores or Christina is an experiment that was created by Evil Hale. So basically Dolores was brought back, and in turn, by kind of reviving Dolores, she can get the memories out that way, the access to the sublime or whatever she needs. It's like, yeah, we know Hale needs something from Dolores. It's just, what's the method here and where does this fit on the timeline? And I could potentially see the dystopian future thing. If that played out, I could see that kind of bleeding into season 5, whereas like season 4 right now would be just kind of like revealing what happened with Charlotte Hale, what her evil plan was. And then at the end of this season, it's kind of like that big reveal, like, ha ha ha, it was too late. And then we jump into season 5 where, okay, we've got to figure out how can we free the humans. And so as another kind of bridge into figuring out this puzzle piece is what went down with Maeve and Caleb as they were in this, you know, cool roaring 20s sort of park. And again, I really like seeing more of this park. I also thought it was quite funny to see that the developers were so lazy that they basically took the same plot from the original Westworld, or the Westworld that we had witnessed, and then just overlaid it with this new skin. And it makes sense, right? If the whole point is to be trapping these humans, trapping the highest paid humans and using them potentially to kill them, put them in positions of power, or to use them as kind of slaves, it all makes sense. But I was like, okay, that was actually really well done. I like seeing Temperance and Maeve and their idea, their new take on Hector and stealing the safe, but I digress. No, I don't actually. I also like the sacred plot line where it was the host uprising. Maeve was like, why can't I, why isn't it working? And then it's like, well, it's because you're still in the game. We gotta go one more level down. But anyway, when Maeve and Caleb did go one level down, they did find some sinister stuff going on. And essentially, they come up to this control room and Maeve is like, do you hear that? There's this humming. And, we pieced together that whatever is going on with this humming from this big funnel machine, it is controlling humans to do, it's mind control, right? It's a mind control frequency that's being emitted. I guess except for the fact with Caleb's daughter, which was actually a host, and that was being used as a trap to lure Caleb in. But I'll jump to that in just a second. First, I want to talk about this frequency that Maeve heard, because it is kind of like, okay, is this let's say, the successor to the fly experiment? So as I see it, it seems like the flies are a prototype as a way to control humans, right? You've got the faceless hosts that have been either injecting the goo into doing something with the goo and the flies, and then unleash that on the humans, and now the humans can be controlled. But it also seems like the frequency is kind of in this testing phase to see like, okay, the flies are good, but there's a better way to do this. And so that makes me wonder, right? Is this frequency that she heard the song that the homeless man hears back in Christina's world? And then considering that only Maeve, a host, can hear that song, does that mean that the homeless person is a host? The dead birds, they can hear the song, so that would mean that they are hosts. And I would assume Peter as well, Peter the NPC, because he could see both the tower, and I would assume he can hear the song. It kind of seems like it goes hand in hand. I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm like saying things and I'm like, there's so much information. But so in this physical world, it would be the dystopian future that Hale created. It would be the plan that worked, that the frequency, the song finally worked. She can finally control humans. So pretty much everyone that Christina sees, I would whoever can't hear the song, basically. I'm having a big brain meltdown here, but essentially you've got hosts who are able to kind of live their life almost as if they are in a park themselves, using the humans who are now being controlled. But then of course the big question is, well, why can't Dolores hear that song if she's a host? And can the other host hear that as well? So many questions. I could only, at least for the Dolores thing / Christina, I would think that she can't hear it because if Hale brought her back to life, she would just kind of put in that programming, like with the Forge. It's like, you just can't see it, you can't hear it, it's cool. Don't think anything about it. So, oh my God, I'm gonna have a brain meltdown just trying to think about all this stuff. But, the final detail is that Kay was attacked by the killer flies at the end of the episode. I was not expecting that to happen so quick because there's 8 episodes and this is only episode 3. So I'm like, is he going to be controlled the entire time? And, why control Caleb? What's so special about him? Again, my brain is turned off, so I have no answer for that right now. Or potentially Will May find a way to free Caleb, and then they will that'll be a huge W for them because they'll be able to kind of potentially save any human that does come under their control. That doesn't mean they've stopped the humming, that doesn't mean they've stopped the song, but at least they've got some inkling of how to save them if they end up saving Caleb. So that being said, I'm gonna shut down my host body because I've processed a lot here. Like I say, as always, if there's anything that I missed, please leave me a comment so I can, figure out what I'm missing here, what I need to be paying attention to. But I'm having a lot of good fun. I can't wait for episode 4. In the meantime, if you're into the MCU, I think you should check out my spoiler-free review for Thor: Love and Thunder. I'll be talking spoilers about that at some point this week as well, but go check out that review and please subscribe for more and leave a like, and we'll keep it rolling with more episode discussions next week. Bye.